Welcome to Real Estate of Mind, a Farbman Group podcast. Welcome to another edition of Real Estate of Mind. This is Andy Gutman for the Farbman Group, and I'm joined here today by Matthew Rykulski. Matthew's with Merrill, Lynch, and we are here today talking about an upcoming Farbman Group C-Series on business succession planning. Now that C-Series is being held Wednesday, May 22nd. We're having breakfast. It's available at 8:30 a.m. We are being joined that day by all the tenants of Oakland Commons. We're in the Oakland Commons newly built Class A Conference Center, which is an amazing place. Just being there for the conference center alone is exciting, but the information that you will get from our friends at Merrill Lynch is going to make that morning explosive. So Matthew, thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Andy. Thanks for welcoming me to sunny Southfield. Had I known it was this much warmer, I would have came weeks sooner.
I understand. It's nice, though. It's nice to see. Hopefully, when people listen to this podcast, it'll be a nice sunny day as well. But it's nice to see the sun back in Michigan.
Absolutely.
Matthew, you've got this great session coming up. Tell me why it's valuable for people to attend it, and for people out there who aren't familiar with you and your organization. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. So, really, the importance of business succession planning is something that I think all small business owners think about and oftentimes wrestle with, but never really put a pen to a paper. And I think that it's incredibly important. We all work extremely hard and put a lot of our blood, sweat, and tears into our own respective trades, and it deserves some attention. My business partner, Michael Sharber, who is unfortunately not here today because he and his wife had their second child yesterday. So
that's very exciting.
It is exciting. Baby boy, second baby boy. So you'd be hearing from him today, so you can thank the baby boy for that, and now you get me, unfortunately. So, but it's important. Mike's got a unique background, and I think this is why we kind of started down this endeavor. He was in a prior life started his own tech company and very successfully grew that to where it is today. And so really he provides a very unique background, sitting on both sides of the table, having sat in the chair of what do you do? So he does a lot of volunteer work through an organization called SCORE Detroit, which stands for the Service Corps of Retired Executives. He sits on their executive committee and really found that there was a need in his mentoring other business owners to have this discussion because we all exit our business one day, whether it's by design or force. So it's something that deserves some attention, more than some attention.
Absolutely, and I know just from being here at the Farbman Group, we're a second generation company right now. The third generation is thank you, and we're well on our way to the third generation, which I think the oldest is 14 now, so coming any day.
Yeah.
But knowing that there's a focus on that, not only at the family level for a family-owned company, but at the executive level for those non-family members that are in there helping run the day-to-day, making sure that we do have a succession plan in place that we are updating routinely. So
absolutely, and the numbers are overwhelming. Only 30% of businesses make it to the second generation, and that number shrinks to 12% going to the third. Unfortunately, shrinks even further, and the fourth goes to 3%.
Wow.
The fact that you guys have thought about it and successfully have done it once helps because most people don't even get there.
Yeah. Well, we're hoping to be that 12% or part of it, so we appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
So Matthew, how often should a company review their succession plan? How important is that?
It's a great question, Andy. So in general, we tell people it really should be looked at every 3 years because lots of things change, and it depends on what the ultimate goal of the exit strategy is. Sometimes it's change in family dynamics. Sometimes it's change in tax policy. We all know here in the United States, every 4 years there's an election that's held, so there's possibility for changes in law. So really, every 3 years is what we suggest people to business owners. That's really the ideal number to sit down and kind of revisit things and say what's changed, how can we do things differently, and sometimes, quite frankly, the answer is nothing, but that's
Right.
okay.
But at least you're taking the time to review it and determine you're doing the right things, there's nothing to do at this time.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is important. And I think, to that extent, and to the fact that you do mention all the different things that can impact that, I would imagine you reach out to your clients when something like an election, the most recent one being an example where tax laws have changed more significantly than they have ever before. I would imagine you're out to clients saying, it's probably a good time to look at your succession plan and the impact that the tax changes have had.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no question about that. And there's so many facets, both on a personal and business level, that have to be taken into consideration, which is why there are so many different professionals in the financial services industry, from financial advisors to accountants to real estate professionals, and all of them come with many idiosyncratic things that need to be taken into consideration to make a complex situation simple.
Right. And we do see that from the commercial real estate side, the complexity and sometimes the lack of planning that goes on with real estate. A lot of times people only think about the initial deal and not setting aside, what happens to the real estate if they pass. We see that a lot, and we spend a lot of time with our clients making sure that they are focused on not only today's value of the real estate, but what happens, what are you doing to ensure the transfer and the smooth transfer to the next generation if something should occur, or simply how are you going to deal with that? Have you thought that through? Sometimes that's going into a deal, sometimes that's while they're already in a deal and they've already signed off on the transaction in its pure state. So
That's right.
There's always some thoughtfulness that needs to go into every aspect of what they do. So can you give us some ways that you can exit a business?
Sure. So there's the idea of selling it to an outside buyer, which I think is what we all think of when we talk about selling or exiting a business. But there's other ways as well. You could sell it to the employees through a stock ESOP or employee stock option plan, gifting it to a family member, or transferring it to another generation, as we had mentioned earlier. A management buyout sometimes is something to consider when you've got people that have been here for a period of time and maybe don't have a family member that's necessarily interested. Oftentimes the bench is deep in management, that they know the business and industry. And then there's the kind of, the biggest thing that oftentimes, at least in my world, happens is companies go public. Doesn't happen it's not a usual thing for most, but it does happen. And the worst thing, quite honestly, is to liquidate. That is an option, but unfortunately, when business succession planning doesn't occur, that forced liquidation happens more oftentimes than not. And there's a lot of value that gets left behind and left on the table as a result. So those are really the 6 different ways. There's pros and cons to all of them. It's just a matter of what works best in your particular situation, and talking through that with some people that you can trust.
It's great, and sounds like you're one of those people that is a trusted advisor to many.
I'd like to think so.
That's great. Well, look, Matthew, I don't want to give away all your secrets because we've got a great event coming up. Again, Wednesday, May 22nd, Oakland Commons, which is at 20750 Civic Center Drive in Southfield, Michigan. It's 8:30 a.m. I know we've got a great breakfast, but that's not the reason for people to come. It's going to be a fantastic event with a tremendous amount of education that's coming in there. And so we look forward to seeing everybody at this event. I've had the pleasure this morning of talking to Matthew Rykulski at Merrill, Lynch. Matthew, if people want to get a hold of you, have questions, because you've given them some things to think about, how do they get in touch with you and your organization, you and Michael? And give us a website, an email, a phone number.
Yeah, sure. So the easiest way to get a hold of us is to call us or email us. My direct phone number is 248-475-1041. Our office is located in Auburn Hills, Michigan, very close to Oakland University. Michael's direct number is 248-475-1019. You can also send us an email. My email address is Matthew, Matthew, _Rykulski, Rykulski, at ml, as in merrilllynch.com. And Michael's email is michael.sharber, SHARBER, at ml.com.
That's great, and I know our people will be ringing you off the hook now. Please make sure you say congratulations to Michael.
I definitely will. Very excited.
I know you're a fairly, for your second child, fairly recent father for the second time.
I warned him about the sleepless nights that are happening. I spoke to him on the way in, and I asked him, so how was the night in the hospital? About an hour and a half of sleep, and he was on his way to get coffee.
Yeah. But you guys timed it so you're both going to be lacking sleep. So is there anyone who's going to be well rested at your office?
We are going to bring one other person with us, a gentleman by the name of Tim Thomas, who at the firm is our structured lending specialist, and will also add some great value to the conversation next week for sure.
I think that'll be fun, and for you guys, we'll make sure the coffee is ready and
Please.
hot, and we congratulate you both. That's wonderful stuff.
Thank you, Andy.
Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
For Real Estate of Mind, this is Andy Gutman and Matthew Rykulski. Have a great day. Join us next time for another wonderful edition of Real Estate of Mind, a Farbman Group podcast.